Welcome back, Embers, or if you're new here, welcome to the Campfire Crew. My name is Stone. My pronouns are they, them. There's cat hair everywhere. But today, as you can tell by the title of the video, we are talking about brands that I don't buy from, and more importantly, why I don't buy from them. This is not every brand that I don't buy from. These are just some that I have thoughts on, I have opinions on, I have something I personally think is interesting or unique to share. Okay. So let's just rip the band-aid off and start with a much beloved brand, and that brand is ABH. So originally, back in the before times when beauty YouTube was super popular, it came out that there were some really concerning Glassdoor reviews. If you don't know, Glassdoor is a website, a very annoying website where you write reviews for your employers. You can give other people an idea of what it's like to work somewhere before they actually have to go and get the job there. But I kind of just decided that I didn't want to buy from them. It always kind of stuck in my mind as something I just didn't want to support. So yeah, when it comes to makeup brands, I just feel like if I would absolutely detest working somewhere, if I would quit somewhere in the first couple of weeks, I'm not buying from them. Especially when it comes to makeup where it is not a necessity, and thus I feel perfectly fine not buying from a brand because I don't need their brow products. Frankly, it's not a necessity. I don't need it, you know? So that's kind of where I started with ABH. However, when I decided to do this video, I decided to look up their Glassdoor reviews to see if anything had changed. Because you know what? I can personally not want to buy from her brand, but if I'm going to sit on the internet and be like, fuck this brand, or like, I'm not giving them my money, I want to at least be correct about it. So I was like, let me look it up. Let me see what their reviews are like now. Maybe they're good now. Maybe things have changed. Maybe I can buy from ABH. That would be lovely. No. No, the reviews are bad. And they also very consistently complain about the same thing, and that thing that all of the reviews mention pretty much, or at least like I think I read in full like 12, 15 different reviews for ABH, and I think two, three of them were good reviews, and the rest were bad. And all of the negative reviews had a very common theme, and that theme was the management sucks, allegedly, according to these reviews. It's specifically the upper management, and the people who have been there the longest are, some people have said things like the management is bad at their jobs, allegedly. I'm going to say allegedly a lot. There's things like there were some comments about it being cliquey and mean. There were some comments about how management didn't properly let people in the company know things they needed to know to do their jobs. There were many comments about getting thrown under the bus and how management would mess up and then blame it on their underlings consistently. There was just a lot of complaints about management, all entirely complaints about management. The only good comments I saw were basically you get free products sometimes. One person said twice a year specifically. But yeah, they were like, you get free stuff sometimes, and that's cool. And then there were the products are really good. We like the company as far as like their makeup is concerned. The makeup is good. And those were like the nice comments. And everything else was like, the management sucks. It's so bad. The good reviews I saw, one of them was from someone who worked in the salon as like, they did brows in the salon, and they were like, I had a great time. But a lot of the people doing the like kind of logistics, office work, shipment, that kind of stuff, are having very bad times at ABH, allegedly, according to the Glassdoor reviews. And again, if I would hate to work at a place, I don't want to buy from that place specifically about makeup. That's my line, that's my limit, that's kind of how I feel about it. And also, every time I move, I make a little noise. Next up on my list is one that a lot of people don't buy from these days. Not everybody, but like I've heard multiple people talk about this company and not buying from them, and that is Ensley Rain. So you might know what I'm gonna say. But I swear I have thoughts. I've interesting, I think, thoughts. At the very least, I have thoughts that I have not heard other people express. Okay? So, first of all, let's get the elephant out of the room. There's actually two elephants. But let me get the most recent, as far as I'm aware, elephant out of the room. I'm non-binary, which some people consider trans, some people don't. That's neither here nor there. Ensley Rain, with their main account, whoever is on their main account, someone on their main account, who I presume is the owner of Ensley Rain, I would hazard a guess. Someone who has the Ensley Rain main account has been liking or has liked in the past transphobic, I believe, TikToks. Though it might, I'm not sure what platform, let's be honest, I don't know. But has been liking some like kind of transphobic stuff. So there's that. I don't like them for that. That's enough for me. But the original thing about Ensley Rain, before all of that happened, there was the conversation about AI art and the fact that Ensley Rain always uses AI art. Now, I don't like AI art. I think that's probably clear based on the fact that I don't buy from them, and I'm talking about this in this video. And I think there are some good reasons to not like AI art, but today I want to specifically talk about companies using AI art, because I think that's its own conversation that's not being had that much. Because as far as I am concerned, companies using AI generated art is a labor issue. Yeah, that's my hot take. But here's my take. Here's why I think AI art is a labor issue. Okay, first of all, when we're talking about AI art and labor issues, we have to be on the same page that art is also, like, artists are workers. Not every artist is a worker. You can make art and not be a professional artist, right? Like, I understand that. And also, lots of people do art professionally as their job, as their source of income, right? And I just think it's a bit weird that tech companies were like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make it so that we don't have to pay people for art anymore. We don't like having to pay workers for their products. That's annoying. That's expensive. Ew. So instead, what they did is they made a device that stole artwork and Frankenstein monstered it into new art. Because that's how it works. It's like a Frankenstein monster machine. It's a thief box, right? They take art, they Frankenstein it together into new art. And I think that's bad, actually. I feel like I am concerned, really. I am concerned anytime that a company tries to get out of paying people to do something for them. That concerns me, especially when the means by which they do that is stealing. Because that, again, that's what AI art is. If you want to know more about that, this is not the place. But you can look it up. It feels like a lot of people don't care about the labor issues of AI art in terms of like companies using AI art over actual human artists. Because, how do I phrase this? I think there is a really big push to view certain jobs as more real and legitimate than other jobs. And creative jobs are one of those jobs that is so, like, there's been such a push to consider both, you know what, I've already been controversial in this video, I can be controversial again. There is a very obvious, to me, push to make certain types of jobs viewed as less legitimate, and thus also making them easier to violate the workers' rights of people because they're not viewed as real work. Real work. What is real work? The thing about that, too, that's so insidious to me is that what is defined and viewed by the public as real work is so random. It's so nothing. It's so nothing. Like, you could argue that any work is not real work. I've seen it argued that being an artist isn't a real job. I've heard that argued. And the reason is that it's intrinsically enjoyable. And thus, that's not real work. If you enjoy the work, it's not real work. And thus, it is not deserving of protections. Which, bad, don't like that. Two, I've seen it argued that women's work, anything that is deemed feminine is not real work. Like, for instance, nurses. Oh yeah, that's difficult, but it's not real work because you're helping people. I've seen this argument, the same argument about psychologists. Like, if anything in the helping profession, I've seen so often people be like, well, it's intrinsically motivating. Like, you should want to do it regardless of whether or not your workplace treats you fairly or compensates you fairly. You should just enjoy the work enough on its own that you shouldn't want to get paid fairly or treated decently. You don't need to advocate for your rights as a worker because you're in the helping profession. You should just like what you do enough. And I've seen that exact argument about, again, artists. And then you have the argument against why minimum wage work isn't real work. Oh, it's easy, even though they could never do it. It's easy. So it's not real work because it's easy work, even though I wouldn't want to do it. And I have no idea if it's difficult or not. It's easy, and thus it's not real work. But do you see what I mean? Like, we could make an argument that any work isn't real work. I could argue, if I so desired to, that construction isn't real work. Well, you're just helping people. You're helping people by building them houses. Isn't that so motivating intrinsically? That's not real work. You're just doing something in service of your community. You should want to do that. So why do you need to get paid well? Like, I could use the same argument they use against artists for construction workers. Would it sound stupid? Yes. But, like, so does the argument against artists not being real work. It just sounds less stupid to us because we've heard it so much that it doesn't sound as stupid. But it's just as stupid. The argument's stupid. Any work, if somebody is willing to give you money to do a thing because they don't want to do the thing, that's work, that's labor, and thus it should have protections. Because when we talk about what is and what is not real work, we are talking about what work, what labor is deserving of protections. And here's the gag, all of it is. Especially if you're working class, which I know everyone who watches me is probably working class, let's be honest. There is no reason for working class people to accept this not real work shit. My point is, I think it is important that we view artwork as real work, because I don't think it is good for working class people to accept this line of rationale that certain work is beneath, like there's certain work that is above other types of work, that there's certain work that's less important, that is less deserving of protections than other work, because they will so easily use that exact same argument against your job. Like, why not yours? They could, if they wanted to, if they spent long enough, they could convince people, because it's easy to make that kind of rationale. It's easy. You just have to convince enough people it's true and say it over and over and over again over a long enough period of time, and it starts to sound reasonable just because it's been said so much. And so, like, when I think of AI art, I'm just like, no, thank you. It's gross. Like, I want the palettes that I buy to have artwork done by real people. I don't want robots to be making the artwork. I want robots to be doing jobs that people don't want to do. That's what I want the robots doing. Not the work that people actually, like, enjoy and find fulfillment in. I want artists to be able to have happy, fulfilled lives with really good worker rights. I want everyone to have really good worker rights. And I just think it's really scummy to be like, no, we're just gonna steal your artwork, and then we're just gonna steal your artwork. We're just gonna steal your artwork instead of paying you. Like, that's scummy. Don't like it. I'm not doing it. I'm not buying from them. I'm not buying from any company that uses AI artwork. And I know Ensley Rain knows that some people do not like this, because people have talked about it. They delete comments. Like, I know they know. And that, for me, it's just like, it bothers me. I don't want to do it. I don't want to buy from them. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Ensley Rain and AI art. And workers' rights, apparently. The next brand I want to talk about is, unfortunately, ColourPop. I've been avoiding talking about this specifically. I've been avoiding talking about a lot of my personal opinions on things, and I'm talking about a lot of them here. But the one I've been avoiding for the longest is the ColourPop conversation. So let's start with the less scary conversation of, I decided not to buy from ColourPop because, to me, ColourPop feels like fast fashion but for makeup, and I just feel like ColourPop hits a lot of the, like, what makes something fast fashion boxes, but in the makeup space, and I try not to buy from fast fashion, even if it's not actually fashion. But yeah, I try. And because, again, makeup is something that is not a necessity, I feel comfortable just being like, yeah, some of their stuff is cute, and sometimes I want some of their stuff, but, like, will I die without it? No, it's okay. There are other palettes, you know? There's other stuff I can buy from other companies. That's the easy conversation to have. And now we have to have the harder conversation. I have come to the decision that not only will I not be buying any explicitly Harry Potter related merch of any kind, because I don't want to give Joannathan any of my money. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I've also made the decision that at this point, with this political climate, with how things are going for the queer community, given the fact that Joanne, her real government name, Joanne, has donated $70,000 to help overturn protections for trans women in the UK. $70,000 that I simply cannot buy from companies who I know will be giving her money in the future, who will be doing Harry Potter collabs in the future. Now, this isn't like if you've ever done a Harry Potter collab, you're dead to me kind of thing. This is more like, this is kind of like a touchy line for me where I'm not exactly sure how far back this is going, but like there's a certain point where I feel like people knew what was going on with her and chose to give her money anyway. They knew about the transphobia and chose to give her money anyway. And if I think if a company, first of all, has done that before, and second of all, I think company, because they haven't said anything about it, would do it again. If I think, yeah, they would definitely do another Harry Potter collab in the future. They don't care. If I suspect that they will do another collab with her again in the future, I'm just not going to give that company my money, because frankly, it just feels like I'm giving money to make the lives of trans people worse. And I'd rather not do that. And is it like degrees of separation away from doing that? Yes. Yes, there are degrees of separation away from it. But it just makes me feel icky. It just makes me feel so freaking gross that I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Yes, things are really rough out there right now. Things are going to shit a little bit. And I don't want the makeup that bad. I don't want it that bad. Hi, editing me, as you could probably tell. I said this in my original filming of this video, which got lost, and I forgot to say it in this round. I think it is very important to say that Joannathan J.K. Rowling has expressly said, with her own words, that when people buy Harry Potter stuff in the modern day, they are confirming to her that they either agree with her transphobic views or they do not care about her transphobia. She views purchases of Harry Potter stuff as an express, not indictment, what's the opposite of indictment? Agreement with her transphobia. She said that. That's another reason I don't buy from her, because not only is the money going to bad places because she likes to give her money to transphobic causes, she has also expressly said that it fuels her transphobia. She said that. So that's another reason why I personally not going to do it, because again, in some places I'm considered trans. But either way, like, queer people are my people, she's hurting my people, and I don't want to support that. Fuck you, J.K. Rowling. Fuck you, bitch. I think this is pretty obvious by this video, but like, I think a lot about where my money ends up, in whose hands it ends up, and what impact my actions have. And while I understand that I'm one person and I can't be all the change the world needs, I don't want to do it. I don't want to encourage that kind of behavior. let's talk about something more chill, okay? Let's talk about Tarte, because this is probably the brand that I'm the least determined not to buy from. But with Tarte, something about Tarte is just giving me bad vibes, you know? And I want to talk about it. So the thing about the Tarte brand trip, because I'm not going to beat around the bush. We're talking about the Tarte brand trip. I think there's something to be said about the way in which companies use PR as a way to get influencers to be nicer to them. Because that's kind of part of what it is, right? Like, you are ingratiating yourself to people who make reviews and who influence. That's why they're called influencers, because they have influence. You're ingratiating yourself. That's what PR is you're ingratiating yourself to a bunch of people so that they are nice to you. And that's not all that PR is, but I think that it would be ridiculous of me to sit here and pretend that that's not a part of it, or at least that's not a benefit in the company's favor of giving out PR, is that now people don't want to burn bridges with these companies because these companies will give them free stuff. And these are like minor issues that I think about, but like, it's kind of whatever, right? But with Tarte, because of the Tarte brand trip, this issue is cranked up to like 22. Because the thing about PR that is really beneficial to creators isn't just like getting stuff for free. Part of the benefit of PR is that you get stuff early, and so you get to stand out from the crowd a little bit because you get to put out your video before everybody has access to it, which has an exponential growth on these channels, right? Because once you get once you start getting better views, because for instance, you're the first person or one of the first couple of people to put out a review on something, now everyone's watched your channel. Once the algorithm thinks that, once they see like, this channel's doing really well, they'll push you out more. It's an exponential growth thing, right? When you get palettes early, everybody eventually also gets to get their hands on that palette and make those reviews. But with a Tarte brand trip, there's only so many people that can make content about the Tarte brand trip because there's only so many influencers who get to go on the Tarte brand trip. Back in the day, the Tarte brand trips were like very influential. Lots of people wanted to watch that content. And when everybody eventually gets access to a palette, every influencer can buy a palette. There's like 1,000 reviews on the same palette, right? But so you're fighting for views between 1,000 people, and maybe one single person can only watch like is only going to want to watch like 1, 2, 3 different people review a product. So everyone's kind of splitting up the views. But with the Tarte brand trip, conceivably, anyone who wants to watch Tarte brand trip content could theoretically watch all of the people who got invited because there are so few of them. It might take a while, and maybe not everybody's going to watch everyone's content, but it's much more plausible. And even then, you're fighting among so many less people for the views. And the views are really good on the Tarte brand trip because, again, it's content people want to see. Because here's the other thing. If you think you can not only get a free trip to Hawaii, let's say, by being nice to Tarte, to featuring Tarte products, you're going to want to feature Tarte products more. You're going to want to talk about them. You're going to want to say nice things about them. If you have critique about them, you're going to want to be nice about it because you don't want to get excluded from being considered for the Tarte brand trip. Are you? if I watch a review of Tarte, like if I watch any review of Tarte, do I really trust that review? Do I really trust that review? To be honest. Do I trust it to be unbiased? Absolutely not. Because even then, even people who are not invited on the Tarte brand trip are still suspicious, because what if you're saying nice things about Tarte because you want to be invited on the brand trip? So like, as much as these reviews are great for the brand, and they are, to someone like me, it just means that like I can't trust a single review about Tarte ever. They are permanently tainted to me. Like, I can't trust that I can watch a review and that review is honest. The only Tarte review that I can trust is a really aggressive, mean review of Tarte, where they say the things are trash, absolutely terrible, and then I can't trust it because are you just doing it for the views, you know? It means that I feel like I can't trust Tarte. I can't trust a Tarte review. I just simply cannot trust a Tarte review. It has been tainted for me, and thus I don't buy Tarte products because I don't want to buy from a brand where I don't know if the products are going to be good or not. That's just kind of how I feel about that, you know? So I just don't buy from Tarte because I can't trust their reviews. I can't trust anyone's reviews about Tarte. They have made it so I can't trust them. Sucks to suck. They'll be fine. Those brand trips made them a lot of money, I am sure. So they'll be fine. They don't need my money. They have everyone else's money, but they won't have mine because I can't trust them. And last, let's talk about Youthforia. So I'm going to try and be quick about the summary of this because the summary is important. Basically, what happened with the Tara Black Literal Black Foundation, I think, is more than just a foundation shade that is not anyone's human skin color, because this shade of black, no one's skin color is actually like that. Why would you release that? There were a lot of things that they did that made me go, I don't want to buy from you. And the obvious, like, why would you make a Tara Black shade? Why would you think that would work for black people? They're not literally black, my dude. Is just one facet of the conversation. Anyway, so I've been looking at my notebook, but I'm going to really look at my notebook for a second because I took notes. Long short of it. Released bad shade range. I'm reading this verbatim, baby. Oh, right. Oh my god. Okay. So they released a bad shade range. A content creator, a black content creator, went to review their shade range to say if, like, they had a shade for them, because frequently it happens that dark-skinned black women do not have shades in line that work for them. So there's a whole market of, like, can you even buy this? Will it work for you? Content on YouTube, right? And TikTok and wherever. So a content creator made a video where they found what should have been their shade or looked very similar to their shade online. They bought the foundation. When they got it, they swatched it. It was many shades too light for them. Not in a way where, oh, it looks a little different on the screen than it does in person. No, like, to the point where, like, was the bottle mixed wrong? Was the wrong packaging put on it? Like, something is terribly wrong. What's happening? These are not the same shade. Not even remotely close to the same shade situation, right? So this content creator was like, what the fuck? This foundation lied to me. They also went out and bought in person a second bottle of the foundation for review purposes to figure out if it was just a fluke, like one-time thing, or if this was like the whole range. They got it. It was the same thing, many shades too light. So something was going on. Youthforia, the brand, said that that shade range was just a test, that they were going to extend it if people liked it. There's issues about that of its own account. You can watch the videos about it if you want to see people's comments on that. There are comments. But they said it was a test. They ignored the fact, however, that they lied about the foundation shade. Or there was a mix-up, perhaps, with the foundation shade. They ignored that part and just said, we'll extend the range. We were always going to extend the range. If it sold well enough. And then when they finally did release their extended shade range, they actually did have a very dark shade. And then they had the infamous literal black foundation. Right? And everyone was like, dude, what the fuck? Rightfully so. And again, if you want to hear people critique that aspect, you can watch those videos. They're online. However, I want to point out that there was a video put out around that time from the brand, from Youthforia, basically showing the process of them making, because Youthforia made a really big deal about how they were going to release the darkest shade on the market. They fucked up the first time. They were going to extend their shade range and they were going to make the darkest shade on the market. It was going to be darker than Fenty. They were going to make the darkest shade on the market. It was going to be so inclusive. You guys are going to love it. You're going to eat it up. And then they released literal black foundation face paint. Which is weird because they actually did release the shade under that was actually a good deep dark foundation shade as far as I heard. People said that shade actually will work for a lot of people, and that would have been good if you just hadn't released the literal black face paint. This would have been a good shade extension. But instead you released black face paint and talked about how they made a huge deal about how it was going to be the darkest shade on the market. And it was literal black face paint. Anyway, so they put out a video about how they went to Africa to find a dark enough skinned model for this foundation, for the literal black foundation, because they simply could not find a model dark enough where they were. So they went to Africa and they went to a random mall and they found a random dark-skinned man. And in this video, it's basically they swatch the second darkest shade and then they swatch the darkest shade. And someone made a video of that and they froze right when they initially swatched it, because the original video, they did the swatches and then they cut to the model in the foundation shade and they said, he's wearing the literal black face paint foundation. And look how great it looks on him. So somebody paused the video when both the swatches were on and we're like, it doesn't seem like that literal black face paint actually was what they used all over his face, because you can see here in this video that it doesn't actually match him, right? And if that video is true and is to be believed, which I believe it, I'll be honest, I believe it. It seems believable. They were very convincing. They were like, oh, look at the cut right here, and then suddenly the foundation matches. But if we pause right before the cut, you can see that the foundation doesn't seem to match. They seem to be different colors. That's weird, isn't it? Right? If that is true, if that is to be believed, and if the first part is to be believed, which I also believe, that this creator got a shade that was supposed to be dark enough for her, and then it was several shades too light. If this whole thing happened as it is said to have happened, then the brand, Youthforia, has now lied twice. Lied about, like drastically lied about what their foundation shades look like. Who they would sue. They lied about what their foundation shades look like. Twice. And I just think that I feel like I don't want to buy from a brand who is okay with lying about a shade so they can, what? Get people to buy their foundation? So they can get a wider net instead of just making a good foundation shade? Instead of just doing the thing, making the product in a way that people would like, instead of fixing their product, instead of making a shade dark enough, they just said, yeah, we'll lie about it. And like, do I think all companies probably lie to sell stuff? Yes. But like, not all companies do it so egregiously. And you know what? I feel like they showed me that they are willing to lie to make money. And I said, okay, so you're willing to lie about what your products are like, what they look like, what their shades are to make money. So now I don't trust you. I don't trust that you're telling me the truth about what your shades look like or how things perform or if they're good or not. I don't trust you, and I don't want to buy from a brand that I trust 0%. I don't want to do it. I feel like I'm probably just going to get burned. And I buy so little makeup that it's like, I don't want to just buy makeup to throw my money away. I want the things I buy to be the correct shade. I think that's shitty. I think it is the duty of the company to take accurate photos and to be transparent about what their things look like as best as possible. Companies should do their best, at least, to not false advertise. And Youthforia did not meet that expectation for me. They seem to have perfectly no problem with false advertising, and thus I don't want to buy from them because I don't want to give money to a company that's cool with false advertising. I feel like that's just saying, that's okay, you can false advertise and I'll still give you money. I don't want to do that. I want to give money to companies that are shit. Or at least companies that I think are shit or do things that I think are shit. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. The world's shit enough. I don't need to encourage that shit behavior. That's my opinion. I don't want to encourage shit behavior from companies. I don't want to reward them for their bullshit. Anyway, my voice fucking hurts. Before we end this video, I want to talk about something I do like. So hopefully I feel happier after this video instead of worse after making this video. So let's talk about something I do like. What do I like? I am currently playing this game, Cult of the Lamb, and there are so many updates to this freaking game. Like, it's not unrecognizable, but there's like a lot of new stuff. There's a lot of like quality of life improvements. There's a lot of good UI improvements. There's a lot of like new features and stuff. And it's been really fun. I played it like all day this weekend on Monday. Yes, Monday's my weekend, Monday, Tuesday, if you don't know. I played it all day Monday on my weekend, on my day off. And it was really fun, and I'm excited to play it again. Yeah, had a really good time with that. I feel like I'm dressing to the aesthetic of Cult of the Lamb right now, actually. The red and the black and a little bit of white. If I had some yellow, I think I'd be perfectly on theme. I feel like I really match the Cult of the Lamb aesthetic right now. Yeah, I really like that. That's a good palette cleanser. I should do palette cleansers after videos like this. I think that's good. That's good. Anyway, if you like this video and you want to see me complain about companies more, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see me do panning content that's more happy and cheery and lighthearted, subscribe because that's mostly what I do here. Though I am going to do some more stuff. Something that's going to be happier than this, I think. I'd like to balance out critiques and complaining with fun, happy stuff too. Have a little mix of both. I don't want to go full, I hate everything, but I think hating things is okay. Every once in a while, I don't want to be toxically positive and everything's sunshine and rainbows all the time because I don't think that's true. So we're gonna try and maintain some balance, have some like serious videos, have some not serious videos, have some fun videos, have some like critique videos. A little bit of sunshine, a little bit of rain, mix it up, have a good time. Anyway, if you're interested in any of that, please subscribe. Let me know if you liked this video. Let me know what brands you're not buying from. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. It's okay if we don't agree on everything, just so you know. I maybe should have put that at the start of the video, but this isn't me judging consumers, right? This is me judging companies. I want that to be clear. I'm judging the companies, not the people who buy from the companies. These are just the lines that I draw, the things I am comfortable and not, well, I guess there's a whole video about, this is just the things I am not comfortable with supporting. Anyway, if you like the video, I'm bad at outros. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I think my makeup's cute. Okay, bye.